Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Empty Nest Teacher channel. For those of you that are new to the channel, welcome, welcome, welcome. For those of you who have seen a few of the videos before, thank you so much for coming back. We don't take anybody for granted. So today is Vlogmas, day number 2. It is December 2nd today. As you can see, I'm in the car. I have just pulled up at home, but I ended up having a meeting at the end of school today during the time that I was going to actually film my Vlogmas video for today at school to discuss this topic that I'm getting ready to bring up. So I had to do it when I got home. So today I wanted to talk about SGMs, and for those of you who have never seen any video on this channel before, I am a first-year teacher. I teach 3rd grade, and so this is all new to me, literally all new to me. Not only is it my first year, but in my district, different softwares, different processes are all new. So it's not just something that, I have to get acclimated to because I'm new. Everyone has to get acclimated from, admin on down. So for the SGMs, which means student growth measures, we have to use assessment data. There are different forms of assessments that we can choose, whether it's like an official state assessment, like benchmark scores, or iReady assessment, or some formative assessments that we give to our students in the classroom. But there has to be some type of data that we're pulling from in order to establish where the students are currently, or where they were at the beginning of the year, and as the year progresses, the growth that the students experience. So like I said, with the new softwares and all of that everyone has to use, this is something that everybody has to deal with right now. But I think as a new teacher, it's even more stressful because on top of learning the new software and all of that, on the heels of returning to the classroom for the first time in almost 2 years from the pandemic, and acknowledging as teachers, we can't help but acknowledge the pandemic gaps as well as whatever gaps existed prior to the pandemic. We see them every day in our classroom. We see the effects of those gaps in our classroom. So, honestly, I feel that it's a little stressful. I'm not going to say I'm stressed out because I'm not. I try to handle things just in life, not just with teaching, but I try to handle things and kind of compartmentalize mentally and do some things to kind of de-stress. Because as teachers, we have lives too. So there are things going on in our lives as well as, what's going on in our district, in our schools, in our particular classrooms. And so I feel that it's a little stressful that with student growth measures, our scores, the teacher scores that we receive, and the scores in the system that we use are from 0 to 5. Those scores are based on student performance. So it is the score that we receive as a teacher is directly tied to student performance. And I think in many cases, and of course, I don't know everything. I keep on saying I'm a new teacher. I'm not trying to act like I know everything because I definitely do not. But I believe that it's somewhat unfair that there is no grace given, at least for this year, considering the fact that there are students who are nowhere near the grade level that they, have returned to school in, and, in reading, writing, comprehension, they're not there. So I teach 3rd grade. There are a number of students, the majority of students in my class are nowhere near 3rd grade level. There are a number of students in my class that came back this year. School started in September after Labor Day. That came back this year not really knowing how to write their names, spelling words, reading, and so it's back to the basics in terms of trying to help them, like Dollar Tree line paper, writing paper, trying to give them more practice. They were on the computer for the 18 months of school. So they weren't doing a lot of writing and all of that. They are frustrated because now they have to write. I, in my classroom, try to do a mix of course, using technology. I don't think that will ever go away. And in many regards, it is very convenient, especially for grading, and making it easier on teachers. But I also think that pencil and paper is necessary as well. We can type all day long, or the students can type all day long. But if they can't write their names, we're not even talking about cursive, but if they cannot write their names, and again, I teach a 3rd grade class, and by 3rd grade, you can't really write your name, or you wrote your name, but it's not legible at all. Some of them feel like they wrote their names, and I can see something, but it kind of looks like hieroglyphics, at times. How do we expect them to jump back into 3rd grade curriculum and start writing essays? So in our district, we had a few weeks where they took some of the content from the 4th quarter of last year. So for my students, the 4th quarter of 2nd grade, took some of those skills and the first few weeks of school, we were kind of bridging the gap between the last quarter of 4th grade and first quarter of 3rd grade. So that was, wonderful to go back and get some of those skills. But I think in a number of cases, there was more damage done than a few weeks could address. And so after those first few weeks, we literally jumped into regular 3rd grade curriculum. And like I said, writing essays. We have our cycles for reading are 8 days. Sometimes it may take a day or two longer depending on, the pacing that we need for our classes. In my case, it definitely takes a day or two longer because a number of them can't read. They're not used to trying to sound out words on their own. So to get through some of the quizzes or assessments that are given in the classroom, I have to read the material to them. So reading the prompt, whatever text, we read for the cycle, whatever text that, they're pulling skills and highlighting skills with, at the end of the cycle, they have to do some type of essay, whether it's compare and contrast, whether it's conflict resolution. The other one for first quarter was compare and contrast, conflict resolution, and writing a sequel. So reading a story and then using the theme of the original story to write a sequel and maintaining the original theme. So those were some of the things some of the skills that they learned. And so there's a graphic organizer, some type of graphic organizer included where they can organize their thoughts, which I think is awesome. And then they use the information from the graphic organizer to lay the foundation for their essays. And of course, we know that essays, have an introduction, have a conclusion. They always have those. And then the body paragraphs would differ based on the type of essay they need to write. So those type of skills and comprehension of here is the analytic writing prompt that's given to you. Number one, I can't read it, so I have to wait for my teacher to read it, and I have to listen to the teacher. And I have them, I put it on the board. I have it in a lesson where they pull it up on their personal computers. And so I'm reading it while they see it. So hopefully there's some type of connection there as we go through class. They can see the blends of the words. They can see the spelling of the words as they hear it. Trying to tap into, multiple senses. But, at the end of the day, Miss Watkins, can you read this again? Can you read that again? Can you read this again? Can you read that again? And of course, that's normal. I don't have a problem in reading to the students. And then when we have the assessments or quizzes, I have to read the questions to them and each option when it's multiple choice. So different students are, different comprehension levels. So, if we read number one, go through all the options, I, read it multiple times, give them time to, comprehend and answer the question, making sure they understand, they're clear about the options. We move on to number two. I do the same thing, read it 2 or 3 times, giving everybody time to, have it sink in. Okay, move to number 3. And then somebody says, can you read number 1 again? And so, some of these are, regular student, situations that happen. But I think it's a bit of a difference here because we're talking about a larger percentage within a class that cannot read and write, at this point. And so it demands more time to make sure that they know what these questions, what a prompt says. They understand what they're supposed to do with the prompt and how they're supposed to respond with the prompt, trying to get them to put together sentences that form paragraphs to form the essay. Making sure they have periods or question marks or exclamation points, sometimes commas, making sure they capitalize the first letter of a sentence, doing warm-ups, making sure they understand common nouns versus proper nouns and that you have to capitalize proper nouns. Going through and giving examples, like their names. I'll name some of the students in the class. When you write your name, do you write it with a lowercase, letter? No, we write it with an uppercase or capital letter. And so because you are a specific person, and so if you are naming another specific person, you have to capitalize their name. If you're naming a specific place, you have to capitalize the name of the place. If you're, that type of stuff. So going over all those foundational skills that they were not able to receive. And some say, yes, they received it. But, everybody doesn't learn well online. And so we have to deal with the repercussion of that. So getting back to SGMs, I just went on, I guess, a little rant right there, huh? So getting back to SGMs, like I said, I don't think that it's fair because the gap is so big and having to go back to the basics on so many different things. I don't think it's fair, but we have to do what we have to do. So, this is not so much a complaining video. It's just, sharing my thoughts as a first year teacher. Like I said, it is stressful, but I'm not going to let it stress me out. But I don't think it's fair that the scores that we receive as teachers are tied to, literally tied to, the growth in assessment scores for the students. For some students, they came in, they bounced back. I have a few students who came in, they really didn't even have to bounce back because they're on pace. They know how to read, they know how to write. They have critical thinking skills. They can comprehend, information given to them. Then I have a second level of students who comprehend to a certain degree, but they may not be able to, read and write well. They can have discussions with you, but to have them to put it on pencil and paper or even to type it out, for answers and, they can verbally explain answers, but to have them, do research and put work in, That's where their struggle is. Then you have a lower level of students who cannot read and write, don't know how to sound out words. They need specific attention and assistance for everything they have to do. So for instance, if we're writing an essay, and one of the things that I do in my classroom for essays is have, little writers conferences. So I specifically, speak to each student and we discuss whatever they're writing, try to make sure they're on track, trying to encourage ideas, encourage their thought process so that the ideas obviously are their own, but to try to stimulate their thinking. And with the lower level students, it's almost as if, they don't have the capacity to be creative on any level. And my thing is, and I say as if, because I believe that some of these students do have the capacity to do that, but because of the pandemic, and being online for 18 months, they're not used to critical thinking. And so they literally have to get used to, I have to think about this. I have to, have a creative thought process. Especially with writing the sequel, the essay where they had to write a sequel during first quarter. It took so much to get them to understand that they were not to copy the original story. They were supposed to take the theme, the main idea of the original story and carry that on. What would the main character do, or some of the other characters do, that's in line with the theme from the original story? Maybe you want to add new characters to it, or just, use the old characters. Some students got it. They added some new characters. They had a whole, storyline going on. And some students just could not get past the fact that we could not rewrite the original story as a sequel. And so we have done guided essays, where, they fill in some of the blanks. We kind of give them an idea but give them an idea where they can kind of steer it where, they want to, and try to get their creative juices flowing. So that's the lower level group. We're still working on writing their names. We're still working on, sounding out words, encouraging them to sound out words. Of course, there's a large group of ELLs, English language learners, who come from homes where the families do not speak English. And so there's no help with English at home because the families cannot speak English. So school is is the place where they're going to get that. And of course they can't be with the ESOL instructor all day long. So they're in the regular classroom. And so they're trying to comprehend the English language, in addition to getting, this work done. Then the lowest level are the ELL students who just came from another country. So their ability to speak English, is very low. They cannot explain to you, things like maybe, what school they used to go to, or what they may do at home after school, or, they don't know the numbers. They don't, even if you try to speak in Spanish, uno, dos, tres, cuatro, cinco, even if you, like in math class, try to use Spanish language to communicate to them, they just can't comprehend. So I feel like there are 4 different levels that I kind of, talked about just now, but you can definitely break them down even further. And so I just feel like with all of those, and of course, there were different breakdowns of, ability levels for students prior to the pandemic. And I know I keep on talking about pandemic, but as a teacher, I think that's one of the professions where you really see the effects of this pandemic. So a lot of what we do, has been, if not all of what we do, has been affected by this pandemic. And it will take a while. It's not like this is an overnight process. This is not an overnight process. If I teach third grade and the majority of my students scored on their reading assessment kindergarten level, they're not going to be, at a late third grade level by the end of one school year. That's just not realistic. And I'm not, as a new teacher, sitting here saying, all of my students are going to be, ready to go to fourth grade and be ready for a fourth grade level, next year. You have to be realistic. Of course I want all of my students to be on grade level, above grade level, of course I want that. But in a realistic world, with the situations that have recently taken place, you just have to be honest about where things are. And in being honest about where things are, I think that, we better serve the students that are in our classrooms. And so, again, this video is about SGM, student growth measures. Yes, I know there are millions of teachers in this country that will do whatever they can to make sure that our students do grow and progress over the course of this first year back after online learning. And, I just, as a first year teacher, want to encourage all of us that we will do our best. And like if you're churchy, you say, let God do the rest. But I mean, do our best. There are PDs, professional development courses and all of that. I've been taking some here and there in addition to some of the courses that I have to take for the program that I'm in, for the resident teacher program. Just trying to, in different areas, sharpen, my teaching skills, trying to get a really good foundation as a first year teacher, and learn as much as I can, this year, so that as I build on this year, I have a firm foundation to build on. And so, that's my thing. So, like I said, this is not so much of a complaining video. It's not a complaining video. It's more so just me sharing my thoughts about what it is to be a teacher coming off of the pandemic. And of course, we know that the pandemic is still, alive and well, but schools are open. Those virtual students that started the year virtual will have to return next year, 2022. So the second half of the school year, 100% of students will be virtual in my district. So although, what is it called? Omicron, whatever the new variant is, that is out, and we have our first case in the United States in California and all of that. There are still variants coming out. Schools are pushing to, go back to normal, business as usual. When in the classrooms, it is not business as usual. So I do want to say, there are a number of administrators at different schools that are doing an amazing job, because I don't think that is a situation just for teachers. It's a situation for administration. It's a situation for everyone within the educational field. But I'm grateful for my administration at the school where I teach, because I think they are understanding, of the situation that we're in. And I'm very grateful for that. That does help. It really does help. For them not to be down our throats constantly, as if, nothing has ever happened. So again, I'm just grateful for where I am this year, and the leadership team at the school where I teach. So that is that. If you are a fellow teacher, it doesn't matter what state you teach in or what district you teach in, and you have some thoughts, please share them in the comments below. I know everybody has an opinion about this, but if you care to share, please share them in the comments below. And if you would like to share this video, please do that. Click share, click the like button. Let everybody know about this conversation that I'm sure everyone is having around the country. Go ahead and subscribe to this channel, the Empty Nest Teacher channel. We would love to have you. And click the notification bell. So when I upload my video tomorrow for Vlogmas Day number 3, you will be among the first to know. Okay? So thank you so much. If you stayed to the end of this video, I appreciate you so much. I will see you tomorrow for Vlogmas Day number 3. Bye-bye.